the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Why? Because God has brought an opportunity to Port Arthur, Texas, that is beyond anyone's wildest dreams, beliefs in you. You see what he did to me?
Change the way.
And he had some hair. And I think it was 2 or 3, and he was grooming them all that. But for us to do multiple levels of business as well as multiple levels of ministry. And we want to bring it to Port Arthur, and we need you.
About 20 of the community benefits documents in his hand. But if you will give us your email address, we will be sure to tonight send to the city of Port Arthur. And like I said, if you don't get one tonight in here, then just leave us your email address and we'll make sure you get it. He didn't have a whole bunch of people who anybody would think could accomplish the feat. Y'all are the citizens of Port Arthur, Texas. I started this with you guys, and I wouldn't dare go forward with what's on my plate without first talking to the citizens of Port Arthur, Texas. To have y'all to come tonight, because I'm open book. We hear all this other stuff going on Facebook, and even the candidates for mayor, they talking about our project, and one for sure who doesn't have he lost the ball in high weeds, but that's fine. We asked for an opportunity to have a project that was private and a project that was non-competitive, because nobody else was doing it. If you go and you look at the rules in Texas for being able to have a non-competitive situation, it's wrong. You know, I already know how much our team we had in place, so if you was running the mile with me, it's for 3 laps behind. And clean energy. You don't have wind, you don't have solar, you don't have, not to the magnitude that we're building, and you don't have the battery storage, right? You don't have a world-class data center. Everybody got a telephone. Everybody want to go and Google something and look up something. But the way that things are going now, your Port Arthur Navigation District, they talking about building one. You know? I don't know if y'all know about it or not, but it definitely they talking about building a data center here. I had a brother. My brother was the first black president of Walgreens Pharmacy and Wellness. You know, he came up through the ranks and became a leader for Walgreens. He used to come down here. The energy business, and you look at blacks in energy, you'll find that we have 13% of America's spend. You know what that means, right? We spending money. We have 13% of what goes into keeping this place going. We built it, but we own less than 1% of the capital assets in this country. That project we building is considered a country asset. You can't make a law because of antitrust laws, because Texas is a competitive state, and because monopolies are illegal. You can't make a law to keep us from selling electricity. You ain't never seen energy show up at one of these meetings, because if they do, they know they're going to leave with one of these in their behind. They know not to come talking that noise. They got lawyers that tell them, stay away from that, don't touch that. Right? You cannot monopolize. Yeah, they're the only ones selling power around here until we show up with some power, and then they got to slide over. Why? Because we the only black in the game. The Bible said your gift will make room for you. I was making room. You understand? We don't own the rigs, we don't own the platforms, we don't own the transmission lines, we don't own the pipelines, we don't own anything. We don't exert any influence when it comes to energy policy in this country because we don't have a seat at the table. There is no black people at the table. You know what I mean? And y'all got one, Tiffany was there trying to stop us, talking to all these people, and talking about the property here it belongs to the state. I can prove that to you tonight, that's a lie. Baker Botts was here before Texas was here in 1845. Baker Botts don't play. And she's soon to find that out. I want to congratulate one of the council members for having the courage to stand up for his community. That's what it is. And this is not to, I'm not blowing any smoke. I'm telling the truth. He has always been straightforward with us since we started really just having an opportunity to talk to him. But they got a thing called technology. My club was running, and I got a phone call. And on that phone call, there was a conversation that went forward. And y'all were at council meeting protesting. Y'all were protesting that a black-owned company wasn't being treated right. And they had a bunch of people sitting on the council, with the exception of Mr. Lewis, who was swaying up and down and had nothing to do with us being black. On the 18th, we had put that to sleep. Tiffany decided to bring it back up and talk about her brown skin. You can be brown and prejudiced. You can be brown and racist. At that meeting, in our minds, we were getting voted in a lease that we had worked for all this time, spending money. We spending money, city spending y'all money to negotiate a lease. We were told that there was 2 items left that needed to be fixed, and the lease would be signed. One item was we paid for easements. That property didn't have any surveys, it was like you take a piece of clay and throw it on the wall. That's how that property out there was. No easements, we checked it out. We got the same company that y'all just gave a $700,000 contract, South Texas engineers, surveyors. Ron Burton sent me to that guy and told me have him to do all of the meets and bounds, the surveys, go do the easements and Crawford, you pay for it. I did. No questions asked. We got the documents signed, sealed and delivered with his engineer's stamp on them, and we turned them in to council. Prior to that, Ms. Sherry Vital, she came to a council meeting, it's on record. If you go look it up back in June, July, she's your research attorney. Willie Bay had went a couple times to go talk to her when things was trying to go south. She stand before the council and said, we did our homework, we own the property. It was deeded to the city a long time ago, 1368. Had nothing to do with the rest of this property. I'm talking about the lake property. The other property, the city didn't even know they owned. They thought the Corps of Engineers owned it. But there's an easement and a waiver on file with the United States government that says when the city get ready to develop that property, the Corps has to stop putting spoils on it. They got to get out of town. That's the rule. That's on file. That's on file in Jefferson County. Throwing his name around. I got the record. David got the record. One of y'all candidates for mayor who doesn't know how to operate technology accidentally posted the whole conversation he had with Ms. Beckham, and she was talking about what was going on in the executive session. Posted everything, called us ignorant. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. I got the whole record. David got it too. He saw it. Some of y'all might have saw it. I copied and pasted and kept it. Show y'all ignorant I am. So I was telling y'all, Mayor, of all the things that are not right and why he should stand up and be the mayor. It's business for me. Because what's going on as far as I'm concerned, you messing with the one thing that gets you in trouble with me. That's the inheritance that I'm trying to leave to my children's children. You stand in the way of that. And you got yourself a war. To say what they please. She said she'd never been talked to like that, never seen no signs, nothing to say anything like that about her. And she had an old nasty grin on her face. Then she walked off and she went over there and she defamed Queen. I wanted to give them a chance to do what they're supposed to do. Here's the notice that you have to give in the state of Texas first before you sue somebody. Sue their drawers off, like my daddy used to say. And right here, I'm looking for $2.7 billion. Yes. This is what your mayor finna get, and a city attorney, and whoever else want to faint. Because the gloves off, and I told him that. So when I told Mayor Bartee what this lady had did, he sent me a text saying he considered her actions as being retaliation because they lost that day. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I said, thank you. Mm-hmm. You her boss, you the head, you running the city, and you instead of you doing something about it, you telling me. Mm-hmm. You got a government official retaliating against somebody because she didn't have thick enough skin to be able to take what the people of the community were saying about it. Yeah. So while we were sitting up here trying to do what we doing, it turns out because we black. So hold on. Yeah. Couldn't find my nigga here. You copy that? Put it down. He said. I couldn't understand it. He said. You got a transcript? Yeah, translate to it. Tell him what he said. He said that the whole problem with this thing is I'm a black man. And they done figured out how great an idea it is, and I beat them to the punch. And they couldn't fathom a nigga getting it. If y'all give me the go ahead, I bet you I can change some other things around here. And here's another thing. If you in here tonight, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if you're not good at fighting, or you're not good at standing for yourself, or you kind of worried or whatever, you can leave now, and I won't even be mad at you. I understand, you know what I mean? I do. I understand. But if y'all okay, because the city is the one who's going to have to come answer to us. I'm gonna take them down through that. Because I done gave them enough chances. And for me to learn that because I'm black, and I know that the Port Arthur Navigation District want to do this, and I done spent a whole bunch of money trying to do what's right and do the right thing, and then the day we supposed to go and sign the lease, we supposed to have, well, the bank told me to bring my lawyer, because we had them 2 points I told y'all about. One was the easements, the other was the law said if we go past 39 years, 40 years, that's just like selling the property. And we'd have to come on a ballot and all that. So we said, look, just take that out. We'll worry about that 5 years down the road. Let's get to the easements that Ron sent me to pay for, to do. And now they don't want us to have it. They had agreed that we could have it.
I thought we got passed.
Yeah, me too. They had agreed that we could have it. So in our mind, the lease that they passed on the 18th was that lease. That we had worked all of this time, my 100,000, y'all 50 on the lease. And they passed the lease that we had never even seen. Why are you spending people's money? And why you cause us to have to spend all this money if you was going to come to us with a lease that nobody ever seen? Right?
Right. Well, how many people would it take to have to be involved with that for that snafu to happen?
You got you know what?
So that's a conspiracy.
Yeah, because you know the law is so good. Because he said something the other day, and he didn't know he was saying it. So I'm not saying he was trying to help nobody do nothing. The truth is the truth. He recognized that the way that the lady spelled counsel wasn't as if it was just the lawyer, their counsel. She spelled it counsel as the group. And he brought that up. Well, it could have been the whole group, because I know he wasn't for that. But I got Brother Doucette too. Brother Doucette said that the city attorney was going to write a memorandum against the council for not taking her advice. I'm not even going to ask Brother Lewis to comment on that, because that's information he ain't supposed to be telling y'all. But if you know anything about 2 Kings chapter 6, when the king of Salem was saying, somebody been telling my business. Somebody talking my business going on in my bedroom. And they say, no, king, it's the man of God. He over in Dothan. Pastor, am I on it? The man of God. God was revealing to him. So the king was always a day late and a dollar short trying to get Elijah. That's what happened here. Mr. Lewis didn't know what he was saying was going to wake something up in me for me to go to looking. You know what she said. I understand from legalities what she was doing, because she worked for the city.
Right.
She wouldn't dare tell her boss, I'm going to write a memorandum against you for telling me to do the right thing. No. She going to protect her behind because somebody was telling her do the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. And then on this recording, Martin told me, because he get mixed up after a while, you keep him too long grilling. He told me that he was the one brought up the idea of giving them leases like you would anybody else. So the lawyer that they hired, she was an expert in easements, but she had no idea what she was doing when it comes to hybrid energy systems. I see I got a Motiva man like that. She's not that kind of attorney. And so she should have told y'all attorney, my firm can't do this. But if you go look their firm up, they got busted. Best and Best got busted stealing the client's money. So why y'all attorney didn't know it and we know it? Why did she go hire her instead of allowing attorneys in the area? They out of California. And they wasted a whole lot of money putting California laws into a lease that we was trying to work here in Texas. So we'd always have to go back and say, what are y'all doing? That don't work here, that don't work there. They don't talk too much.
Yeah.
Because the stuff that ended up in this lease that they finally hurry up, passed, Bartiz signed it, the city secretary registered, certified it. We still haven't seen it. We still have not gotten a copy of their lease. I got it because Mr. Lewis went and pulled it for me to be able to see what they signed. My lawyer still ain't got it. He been calling Best and Best, but she won't answer the phone no more. Matter of fact, I got 2 lawyers. One of them is Simeon out of Lake Charles, and the other one is Baker Botts out of Houston. And they both on the phone because I told them do not talk to them people without both of y'all being on the phone because they shiesty. They won't even answer the phone. They come in and run the data center because the city has to give them permission. They don't operate like that. You know, big business don't operate like that. You don't get no people business like that. They leasing from us. She said one of the problems with the lease is we able to sublease. That's what you do when you build a data center. You sublease it out to co-locators. People who want it, we build it, they come in and, but the killing part about it is, first of all, you say it's state property. And how did you sell to Central a right of way? How did you sell state properties? We lease. You sold them state property, and then they got a right to do whatever they want to do with it, and then when they get ready to leave, they can leave the pipe in the ground. NAACP wrote them and told them don't do that, because y'all use black communities as places where they do experiments. Gas rise, everybody know that. The NAACP wrote them and said don't do that. Port Arthur is right there. They did it anyway. I got the contract on, I had to write them people, because we got 3,900 acres on the other side of the line, and we had to write them to tell them what we were doing over there, so they would know we were going to be digging or planting a transmission cable. So I know for a fact there's something going on in that lake. But Beckham and her crew came against us for our clean energy project, because they don't do their homework. So then Mayor Bartiz said that he was told that the lease they were signing, we had agreed to. And so I called my lawyer and I said, let me tell you something. This from the bottom of my heart. Did you go and make a deal outside with these people without me telling you to do it? He said, no, I wouldn't do that. We got an insurance policy that we don't want you tapping into. I said, well, them people saying that you agreed to the lease, and if you want to spare yourself, you put it in writing that you did not tell them you agreed to anything in that lease. That's what he did. I told him, and he said, that's quite remarkable. He must be saved, because you know us, we would say, shh. Huh? He said, I never told Darrell that I was in agreement with the changes. I said they would be discussed in the workshop. To be honest, though I doubt that Darrell told the council that I was in agreement with her draft. I suspect that either she said nothing about the agreement, or the council assumed we were in agreement, or someone else in the council said that they were in agreement. Like you said, somebody made a deal somewhere, but it wasn't with us. And then I said, well, what about the ground lease that they sent on the 24th? He said, I have reviewed the ground lease that was signed by the city this week. He said, the lease matches the form that Derek Pennell of Best and Best sent on Thursday the 18th, shortly before the executive session of the city council. He said, we did not approve this form. This form contains 13 changes. We only had, how many did we have, Councilman Lucas? We had 2. We had 2. 13 changes in the lease that was submitted to the council. I said, how many of them changes can we live with? Because I didn't want to hold up the community benefits. How many can we live with, and how many are deal breakers? He said 5 of them was deal breakers. the initial easements, the grant of electrical easements connecting the lake premises to the remainder of the premises. These easements are critical to the project. He said that Best commented that Diligence could do a standard city processes to obtain the lease, but these processes would presumably require payment by Diligence, which was not agreed. Ron told me to go get the leases. Ron told me to pay for the leases. And now you're gonna come back and tell me I got to buy the leases when you told me I could have the leases in my lease? And that's what we thought you were voting in on the 18th? And then they changed the AM Best insurance rating from a B+, which is good, to an A-, which is hard to find. Insurance companies right now, most of them struggling because of all the fires and stuff that went on in California. They all running from trying to be any kind of environmental anything, clean or any other kind. So a B+ you can get. And our initial phase, the first 3 years, that's basically study, analyzing, project management, stuff like that. There's no reason to have no $10 million worth of insurance for that. You need workman's comp, you need general liability, you need automobile liability for people riding in and out on pieces of property. And then the people that come do the work, they have insurance and put you on as a rider according to whatever the job is or whatever it is that they're doing. So the subleases, she said on March the 14th, the draft provided, she deleted language providing the tenant could enter into subleases, co-location agreement, and similar arrangements without notice to or approval by the city. This is essential for the operation of the data center. As you know, users of data center, such as Amazon and Meta, typically either sublease a data center or they sign co-location agreements allowing them to install and operate their equipment in the data center. And these agreements cannot be subject to city approval. The tenant in any event remains liable to the city for all obligations of tenant under the ground lease, regardless of whether there are subleases or co-location agreements in effect. And it is not all clear altogether in which or why the city is requiring us to do that. We don't even know. Nobody gave us an idea. We didn't even get a chance to go in executive session and talk about these 13 changes that they made. They just pushed the lease down our throat. Barty signed it, and it's a done deal for them. Then, the lesser default. There was clauses in here. They changed provisions stating without limiting leasees' rights under section 1402 to without limiting lessor's right under 1402. And the change was a blatant disregard for us because the provision that was in there was to preserve our self-help rights in case the city defaulted. They took that out. So when you have a contract that has no recourse for one party or the other, it's no good. You gotta have recourse. I gotta be able to sue you, you gotta be able to sue me in a contract. If it's one-sided, you got all the chicks on your side and I don't have nothing, it's not a good contract. It's flawed on its face.
That's why we're not going there.
That's right. And then the phase 2. Summary of terms said that the city would produce a phase 2. Why? Y'all remember that permit I told y'all about, that waiver? All these years, when they've been dredging the channel and putting that spoil, there's been Exxon had a wreck out there with a canal, then they spilled 400-some thousand barrels of crude.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
Yeah. It ended up over there. The city held them harmless. I got the papers, I can show you right now. They can put anything they want to put on that property. And the city is holding them harmless. It could be anything, radiation, bombs, unexploded bombs from wartime, whatever they want to put on it. They held harmless. The way that lease that they signed, they kept us, they forbid us in the lease that they signed from doing a phase 2. And then they took it out. They said that they were going to do one. I had told them they didn't have to do it, let me do it. Because then we could keep the time speeded up. I don't want to be waiting on them anyway. They took that out. Took that part out of the lease. So they didn't do one and we didn't, what was forbidden to do one. And then later on, when we get ready, 30 years, 40 years, whatever, when we finish and we have to decommission, take our equipment down, then they want us to do a phase 2 to see if we put any environmental problems on the ground. Now that, yeah, you know, we don't even use chemicals like that. So for them trying to be slick, they killed all the benefits for the people. That's what it is. Now today, Mayor Bartiz sent me another. He loved to write. He sent me another message telling me today, you got a lease. It might not be what you want. I already told him I wasn't going to sign it. It might not be what you want just to get us started. If I put my name on that paper,
You do.
I'm stuck. They say, like, Chuck. I said, man, I'm not signing that crap. Before we went to council meeting, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Lord woke me up. Go ahead.
Explain to them, had you signed what Bartiz didn't read and sign off on, which killed revenue, he explained that impact on the taxpayer, the royalties that we wouldn't be getting.
The way we had this thing set up was you're running 24 hours a day, 365 days a week, transmission line going to what we building is a data center that can handle AI and supercomputers. It's a Zeta scale operation, liquid cooled, that right now they don't even have. But they're good because they can forecast hurricanes, they can tell Motiva when they're gonna blow up 5 years from now. Not saying they would, I'm just saying this is the kind of stuff that you can program them to do.
Data process.
Right. The turbines that are the AI operated, they know when the hurricane is coming, they know when they go into safe mode, they know what to do. Right? Y'all's getting paid. Semper bought, I think it was a $7,000 total transaction, but I think that right away was only $2,900, something like that. $2,000 right away. We leasing. Y'all got a one-time payment for that.
Right.
We leasing for 30 years, 39 years. We got an operation that cannot shut down. Once it starts, it can't shut down for 40 years. And the city was going, $100 million was easy. That was that startup. You know? That was money that goes straight to y'all bottom line. It was $100 million startup. And then we set it up because we know that we can put a co-op, Queen and I, there. We went to Louisiana and got with Jeff Davis Co-op. We already got us a tie-in. So we can go sell power in Louisiana. Not just to here, that, you know, the reason why Entergy hasn't showed up at any of these meetings and put their mouth on this project, because they know what we're doing is totally legal. Totally legal. People were saying you can't, there's no way we can give the elders free electricity. Come to Houston. They got programs right now you can get free electricity. From Friday to Sunday. Well, how can they do it if we can't?
Service produce a lot of heat, and they got to be cool. And I did some research. There are some companies like Google, they'll get a minimum of, they'll purchase a minimum of 460-some thousand gallons of water a day. We got a big stream of fresh water down there that we can sell water to whenever they come online. But by him not signing that, if he'd have signed that,
that's more money y'all get.
right.
it sounds like your obstacle is the mayor.
Well, I can tell you that Ms. Beckham, because she claims she's a lawyer,
Well,
she's in the ear of the city's lawyer.
right, but there was a vote, and I was there at that city council meeting where ayes had it. So
The what?
the ayes had vote.
Yeah, but we thought they were voting in what we, listen. I spent $100,000.
Right.
How the heck did they switch it like that?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
how-
They just walked in and did.
Yes, so, well, but who does the city attorney work for?
She works for the council.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
But
council.
my lawyer would tell you, he put it in writing. When I was on his throat, he told me that he has not spoken to that woman ever since we've been negotiating. He said he has never had a conversation with Roxanne.
So, Mr. Crawford, forgive me for the ignorance, so,
Huh?
forgive me for the ignorance if I ask this question. So,
No,
vote,
man, you ask whatever you want to ask. That's what I'm here for tonight.
the vote, if they voted on what you asked for and they had it, the only obligation left was to sign the lease, right?
No.
I mean-
The obligation that was left was what they told us we needed to agree on, which was the easements and take out we had 4 10-year automatic renewal periods.
Okay.
And that would take us over the 40 years and we'd have to go to the ballot.
And that wasn't in the original.
So they kept throwing these little monkey wrenches in the game, and they would say the whole island is a park area. So they put that in the lease, and then we'd have to go back and now look here. Why y'all? If the island is a park area, why do you have carbon capture over there? You got Sempra over there. You got Davis got an abandoned pipeline. You got 5 oil and gas wells in there that nobody's operating. You got one on the property over here that's dead.
Yeah, they built a place right next to our house.
Exactly.
On the west side.
So
Born and raised right there.
Yeah.
In the college.
So we telling them can't be no. Well, that's a heck of amusement park you got over there.
I think to answer this question, there was a resolution that was attached to the agenda. The resolution showed everything from the vote. The vote was 4-2, and it was a vote to give Diligence a lease. But then you look to the next page, it says addendum. And that addendum is where the lease is supposed to be attached, that was already supposedly rectified and came to a conclusion of. So when they attached it, he found out that the lease was different from the lease that we agreed on.
No. You remember I said how the Lord revealed to me what Mr. Doucette had told me? That the city attorney threatened to write a memorandum against the council.
Right.
It wasn't because she was trying to switch the lease up and they wouldn't listen to her. It was because she said, I'm gonna lose my doggone law license for this skullduggery y'all doing. That's what she said.
So Mr. Harris,
Thank you, Lord. You know, it's one of them things where we pack fat. We pack fat. Go ahead, bro.
There's a lot of different scenarios going on here. But when you flip over one rock, you're going to cover a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So the right way to approach this is what's the first step that you need to take in order to unravel what they've already done.
Well, I'm at the first step.
Okay, let me say this one thing though. Seems like there's a lot of other deals going on that was done under the table. And we putting salt in their game if we allow you to do what you're doing, because it's gonna step on some other people's feet that they've made deals with that nobody know about.
Yeah, there's another company going. That's where we at. I know all y'all way younger than me, but when I was growing up, we had a thing called the Jetsons. And they, and, you know, they were zooming up and zooming out and flying around in their cars, and never thought I'd see that. It was a commercial. I mean, it was a cartoon. Now they got it.
You have a council that's corrupt. People need to get it through your head. People don't understand. How can the council do this? When they say if they do this, they change the agreement. The council is corrupt. A lot of times they try to extort businesses that come over here. That's why you can't get anything positive happen, like Mr. Parker. The council members try to use and abuse these companies that come down here to try to get, they can get in their pockets. And so that leaves everybody else, you know, without any type of benefit. So I just want to kind of put that in people's head. You're dealing with a rogue, hostile, corrupt council. Not all of them.
Not all of them.
But a lot of them.
Yeah. So Nebuchadnezzar's son, when he was using the vessels, sacred vessels out of the church, he saw his handwriting start writing on the wall, and it wrote mene, tekel, and it said, "You've been weighed and found wanting." I sent that to Barty yesterday. The Lord woke me up, told me to tell him and explain to him what was fixing to happen. He came back and told me this morning, "Harry, the handwriting on the wall is actually in your favor." True. You actually have a lease. It is the lease. It's not the lease you desire. But this first phase is the beginning of a new journey. Please, my brother, don't consider this as betrayal or some act of dishonesty on my part. In fact, if my counsel has deceived me and the counsel, talking about the woman, trying to play that game, that woman already told you she's protecting her law license, so this, I'm already knowing. You ain't gonna make me believe. You know, the devil tried to tell Jesus, look here. If you just jump down, or turn these stones into bread. You hungry? Huh? He said, in fact, my counsel has deceived me. If they deceive me, it will come out and be dealt with. Sure will. I'm agreeing to all of this. In the meantime, I implore you to move with the instrument in your hand and begin the process of pre-construction and trust God to deliver the increase, as I know He will. Boy, some folks out there, there's a lot of people in the crazy house got themselves confused in Jesus Christ. Boy, you in trouble. You in real big trouble.
So what is the next step for us? What do we need to do?
I came tonight to get counsel. I done already told you. Do it. My next step. What was step one? Step one was I'm coming to where I started, with the people. That's the kind of guy I am. I got nothing to hide, man.
I'd like to say something if I can. You know, if I was to do anything, I would agree to most certainly not sign that and accept that land, whatever they throw you. The deal that you made was for a certain parcel of land, and in my opinion, as one person in this community, is not to take it and fight for it. And here's why. Because for years they have done us this, they have forced us off our land. When we were free, let's go way back. This ain't nothing just started, this practice on how they bamboozle us on our property. When we were shared properties, they stole our land. And we're in our 40 acres to the new. We never got that. Now here we are in the new millennium, 2025, and we're still going through this with all the legal advice that's being handed, all the legal documents, and they still take the chance thinking he's uneducated and won't be able to figure out that mess they're going to put together. And I believe that Mr. Crawford has a strong case in court, and I believe he's going to kick some butt, and I believe this is going to be a landmark case for Mr. Crawford. And I've been before a lot of attorneys in my life, and a lot of lawsuits against these plants. Some of y'all know, some of y'all don't. I've been out there with science protesting for 25 years about the amount of toxins they dump in the air. Not to shut them down, but to get them to do the right thing and protect the community where they're doing business. Well, most of us don't even work. Some of us work there, yeah, but we're good at getting all the pollution, but what we're not good at getting from them is an opportunity or development in our community. The West Side is one of the most polluted areas throughout the United States, but yet at the same time, You got all those plants, and there's been very little development except for that health clinic that's over there now, and a development center with C to help to put in place.
One question, make sure I have a good understanding for everything that's taking place. So,
Give them a napkin with
so my understanding is,
they right there on the
Port Arthur had land that nobody cared anything about. There was a discovery where this land could be beneficial. You put.
Making the easements,
Right.
the right of ways,
Right.
running the environmental studies
Right.
to, first of all, see if we want to deal with it, right? Then we started doing some wind studies, and we found that if you're 6 foot, the wind is probably blowing 2-3 miles an hour. If you're 50 feet, the wind out there is 10-12 miles an hour. 120 feet in the air, this is like being offshore around there, especially at night. Great place for wind. And then there's a migratory path for birds. There's a circle that the Audubon counts the birds to keep up with them. We outside of that. We not anybody's bird path. No way.
Okay, so you.
So we spent the money. We had $253,000 right now to find out to do all the stuff, so we can get the lease and do what we need to do.
Okay, so you bear risk initially for the sake of understanding the environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as Councilmember Doucette had mentioned, and you spoke about earlier, what takes place on that land, you know, there's other parameters, permits, et cetera, that's for Diligence to worry about, not the city of Port Arthur. What I'm trying to really understand is, it sounds as though, based on the awareness that you have brought, and now that Port Arthur is aware of the opportunity for this lease, they're now trying to add in additional addendums or amendments or whatever the case to squeeze out as much as they possibly can on the back end or later, instead of what was initially agreed to. Is that what I'm understanding?
So, you mean with them adding the easements and telling them they have to pay for them? Hey, you heard Tiffany say they're leaving money on the table, so you would rather have zero than.
That's my point.
Right, but that's not what we were doing, right? They weren't leaving any money on the table. We had it set up to where they could continually make money.
Right.
But Barty said, now that they figured out that it's a good project, we beat them to the punch,
Right.
and they didn't want a nigga to have it.
Right. But my thing is, okay, I just want to say this in front of everybody. I feel as though our city council has an obligation to care about the betterment of this city.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the money that's going to be given to Port Arthur through the lease all day, but that's not where it stops.
No.
There's going to be an opportunity for business that you
Funding.
are
Now,
funding.
everybody on our team got a cap. Darryl can't make no more than $2-3 million a year.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. So,
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
We cap because we giving.
yes,
That's why
it's not my problem.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Me putting money into a city, Darryl putting money into a city, Queen, whoever. I ain't gotta give Trump my money because I'm giving it to those that I care about. You understand?
Right.
I'm building a city.
Right. So to me, it's a bit negligent.
It's a whole lot of negligence.
Yeah, it's-
That's
yeah.
a legal term for what they have done.
Right, right. Because to me, it's like I'm thinking about commerce, right? And just the amount of commerce that comes in. I mean, we're talking big names: T-Mobile, Google, whoever, you know, Meta.
Yahoo,
Meta, and if anybody doesn't know, Meta is Facebook. Like it's it's all the same thing.
Yeah, it's all AI.
So I can't understand why and how we're being limited to focus on just this lease, when realistically, if we're going to betterment the commerce of the entire economy in the Golden Triangle, we're not even talking about just Port Arthur.
Right.
There's things that's coming here for Beaumont, Orange, Nederland, whoever. I'm really trying to understand where the problem.
So let me give you another one. We had come to an agreement to set up 14 captains, I think. So like, let's say if you have a storm, and we have in the Golden Triangle, 14 14 different places that we was gonna make sure had power, showers, food, phone, internet, no matter what, right? And we were starting with the people of Port Arthur being in charge of these sites. You needed 14 people to be, because we only need somebody to come tell us what is needed. We don't need a whole bunch of people telling us. So we have 14 people, the captains, managing these sites in the event of storm, somebody don't have clothes. These were centers that people could go to. You understand what I'm saying? And then those people would have a board or a committee of people that they work with who could go out into the community and find out what was going on with the people who needed what. That's why we asked, when you look at that deal, it's really set up to where you're supposed to set up a 501c3 so we can keep issuing the money to direct to the people. You understand?
So these people that you're talking about, it sounds to me like they're going to work directly one-on-one with FEMA, Red Cross, whoever.
No, with us.
Okay.
It's not federal money.
Okay.
This is money that we making off the energy. We giving up our salary. We capping our salary every year to make sure that this $38 million, $39 million every 3 years could go into the community, direct to the people. So you would have these different groups set up, like everybody in this room could set up a 501c3 and everybody do something different in the community to serve the community. Right. And the money would go direct to your 501c3 and you help them people.
So it's instant funding instead of waiting on.
You don't have no government, nothing.
So it's another positive.
There's no red tape.
Yeah.
There's need. Our job, man, I'm a preacher too. You know that, right? I'm your cousin, you're supposed to know that.
Yeah, I do.
And my job is to take care of the last, the least, but more so the lost. You understand? And so we got all this homelessness because people don't care. Right. We got people starving because people don't care. My wife is an educator. Mm-hmm. We got homeless children, kids with nowhere to go, can't eat. Some of them come to school just to eat.
Yeah.
Right? Parents in jail, mama and daddy, some of them, you know, they don't have no hope.
Ever thought about it that maybe you talk to some people that just don't understand?
Understand what?
What you're trying to present to them, what you're trying to bring to them, what have you there? Because everyone I've heard and knew in the past, when I was in businesses, they would get stymied right there at the city council, trying to explain to them what they're trying to do, and it would be simple.
So and I understand exactly what you're saying. Their job is to give us a ground lease. Mm-hmm. Not to be all in our business, that's how we got here.
Exactly.
You understand? Yeah. If they just gave us the ground lease like they're supposed to, like you do anybody else, instead of saying, well, if they can afford to give $39 million to the community, there's got to be some more money there somewhere. But just like they haven't just said, it sounds like they done figured out it's a good deal. That's exactly what Bartiz said. Now that they done figured out it's a good deal, you beat them to the punch. They couldn't stand to see a black man doing it. They who? Who is they?
Right. Because he's a man.
Yeah, who is they?
That's exactly what they'll do.
White people. Who is they? White people. Right? Because little does he know, I know that the judge texted him one night, tried to tell him that.
Now we have a couple.
Right. Tried to tell him that you show the city owned that land. I can show you where the city owned the land. Because I can show you where it came from. I can show you the whole layout.
That's why he's here.
Huh?
That's why he's here in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I know who owned the land. Yeah. The state know who owned the land. That's why they haven't written a letter to Port Arthur and said, we shutting that down. Trump said when he got in office, he was killing wind turbines. He did. He slowed way down. Way down. Not this one. Because we coastal inshore, we not offshore. She was running her trap. And we don't have no property that belongs to the state to bring a transmission line through. So we good. We good.
Let Wall Street pull up.
And when you started talking about the wind turbines. So I researched, every time you talked about something, I was like, okay, this is a good idea. I looked at Port Arthur as a whole, and I looked at your project. to help the people of Port Arthur, what is the problem? People like Tiffany that's in District 2, she was in my district well, when I lived there, and I have something to say to every city council that's against it. You're sitting up there, you're following Beckham, and you're not worried about your people. And it's, you know, I have nothing against no other race. I mean, it's taco stands over here. You've got the Vietnamese have their own territory.
Right.
As black people, we have nothing in the city of Port Arthur but being probably a high rate of cancer. That's about it.
That's it.
Give us your email address. Tonight I also send Chuck's boo-boo, where he told us that Beckham is his top contributor. Right now, she's trying to do damage control. She on Facebook saying, I ain't supporting nobody. He done shut down his stuff. She around there talking, she quiet. She said everything she needs to say right here. She mentioned the judge being in this. She mentioned Mays, Middleton, and Galveston, all kinds of stuff. Chuck want to be y'all mayor.
Check on people that point this on you.
The one that say you people?
You know?
Yeah, you people.
They don't even care.
Yeah.
They got a donut shop out there on West Arthur Road. I call it Little Port Arthur City Hall.
Yeah.
They sit there, they talk about everything, and Chuck Vincent is not even on their concern.
Yeah. This right here is what was going on in executive session. He's not supposed to know that because he was not there. He got it from Beck. Because he was ignorant enough not to know how to operate the technology he had in his hand, and he put this whole thing out there. And then, for the record, I'm the one that gave David the document that I ran through AI to ask what grade level was this person that wrote this thing, and he came back and said 5th grade. I said, should he be the mayor? I believe if AI could cuss, it would, no. He said, no. He ain't got no business being no mayor with a 5th grade education. You insult me by wanting to be the leader in a city with intelligent black people. Because I can tell y'all something. I got the documents. I got the teeth. I got the documents. And when years ago, they said they could not believe how resilient black people are when y'all took this used to be swamp, and turned it into a thriving city. But there's a mosquito experiment that was going on, and they was doing all of the data and stuff in New Jersey, down here on the black people, because the water department created the channel, and the water department to this day say that the people of Port Arthur do not benefit from that channel. What y'all get from that channel? Nothing. So why you got to be stuck with the residue of what comes out of it? You know what I'm saying? That's what they've done. Then we come and gonna put a $6 billion operation on the tax roll. Man, I'm so mad. When I first started coming here, I drive a Genesis. I had to get my front end put underneath my car. My car stayed in the shop 5 months because the parts couldn't come in. It was out of Korea.
Well, I have a question. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, Port Arthur has been stuck in a rut for a long time. And we all was kind of fooled when we thought, well, we have a predominantly black council, black mayor, that things was going to change. The people that was in control when I was a little boy running around here in the 1960s, 70s, I ain't going to say no name, but we all know who they are. They still in control. I can tell you.
I said to Parkers.
Right. There was each Mayor Bobby Prince, Derek Freeman, both were put in office by
Paul Solo.
okay, and they followed the rule to the letter. That's why we can't get past the hump. Because we keep getting leaders that look like us, walk like us, but they're following the lead of those old school people because this is the economics involved in all of this.
So
now when he comes to power in this city, well, he's talking about the people. When because I'm talking about helping the people, what happened to you? I'm gonna say Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers. Boom, what happened to you? If you're talking too loud. Now he's talking loud. A lot of times people were around here thinking I was gonna get my head blown out, but I kept doing what I was doing anyway. And we got a lot of emissions reduced. We got them to pour back the test. So we got the clinic on the west side. We got a whole lot of other things, but we need more. But they keep building these damn plants. Every plant on the corner had somebody that looked like me. Man, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. But I kept going because see that little baby right there? If she's in the neighborhood that's chronically plagued with benzene, ethylene oxide, that child is breathing worker level emissions. And that's what bothers me at night. But I'm saying all that to say this. Those plants got the blessing of those old timers who was in office, and that been trickled down to our leadership today. Many of them are silent because they're still being controlled, and that's what this is all about. So, but when you got the documentation, now I think things are going to start to scatter because you got the documents that prove that there is a scandal going on here, and that is something bigger than the politics.
We got documents in 5 states. In case I get my head blown. You know what I'm saying? We got documents in 5 states at 5 high-dollar law firms. Because Texas can't be trusted. What do? We have the means and the resources to carry the suit. But you know, we came for business. As a settlement, unless they want to do it, the city, we want our lease that we negotiated, that we paid to have written up.
What they do is they try to make you pay for something that you don't need to pay for because they jack the price up. And then when you finally get them to come down to a price that is reasonable, then they stick you in there with a business manager and try to throw all kind of other extra stuff to bring the price back up to the cost of the car, where you're paying for a car that's more than what the price of the car is. So in your negotiation, how can they make a change of what you agreed upon without your consent? You know how you don't sign it.
That's right. I haven't signed it. I haven't seen it.
Because once
I've seen the one with it legally. I was telling y'all what happened the night before. I was telling y'all at 2 o'clock the order woke me up, and I sent a copy of the lease that they were supposed to sign. I sent it to Christie, Mayor Bartiz's executive secretary. And I instructed my lawyer to follow the chain like he's supposed to, send the document to Roxanne and to the hired out attorney. So they would have it in the morning when they get to the office. And I told Christie in the email, and I can show it to you, I said, I don't trust y'all attorney or the hired attorney to do what they're supposed to do tomorrow. So I'm asking you to print this and go take it to Bartiz. She did, because she told me at 1:41 p.m. he got it now and he read it. So I know he got the one that we agreed on. The lawyer on the 24th said, we're not authorized to close with that lease. We got to close with this version. We hadn't even seen that version before. So I told Bartiz, I said, you got the right one in your hand. Why don't you go ask your lawyer to show you the one that she received, because she received it properly through the legal channel.
And don't let no one discourage you and your lineage from doing that. Second, sometimes, you know, your next step, if you can't get what was promised, then you have to fight the legal way, which is in the courts. And you're asking for $2.9 billion. Ask for all of it, even if you have to increase it. Because, you know, that's the only time people listen is when there's money on the line.
Yeah, Texas has trouble damages. So
Yeah.
I'll let the laws take it.
So
I just know from where we stand with our documents, with our model and everything said, that would be our loss.
okay.
Because what we have right now is a federal and a state case. constitutional violations, and then we got state case also, you know what I'm saying? Municipal. They give up their sovereignty, and then they give up their right to be sued because it's constitutional. You understand? If y'all all join on to it, it turns into a class action lawsuit. We don't take it to people. You know what I'm saying? Because they pilfering the cities.
If you want class action lawsuit, then I think it'd be wise to build a coalition as well. Not only, please do not hate you for saying this, but it would carry a lot more weight if there's a little bit more diversity with that class action lawsuit. If we could put a coalition together, I mean, you got Hispanics who have not heard about this.
I'll tell you where diversity come in. Baker Box is all white. That's what diversity. I understand what you're saying. It carry a lot more weight. Man, I got plenty of recordings. I got plenty of the mayor saying that his lead attorney that he hired in the last 4 jobs she lost. Right. You know, that she retaliating against me. I could do this on my own without coming to y'all. You understand what I'm saying? I could be one of them guys that say, shoot, I'm gonna get that money, you know what I mean? But I don't need it like that.
Well, help me to understand it. Now, the way